WCW Fall Brawl 1995. It is the 17th of September and we're at the Asheville Civic Center in Asheville, North Carolina. The attendance here is 6,600. The pay-per-view buy rate is 0.48. The commentary team is Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan. The first match is to determine a #1 contender for the United States title. Flyin Brian taking on Johhny B Bad. Michael Buffer gives the official introductions for the match. The match is initially a back and forth wrestling match. I would say the match was hold heavy, but not to the point where it was uninteresting. It was clear to see that both men were trying to get the better of their opponent and not just locking in holds to slow the pace of the match. Whilst performing a head scissors takedown, Brian may have caught Johhny B Bad here, as he's now got a cut above his eye. Brian wears down Johhny B Bad and locks him in a Boston Crab. As he locks the hold in, he hears the crowd start to cheer for Johhny B Bad. Brian immediately breaks the hold, picks Bad up, and hits him with a stiff punch to the face. This was the first punch of the match, 10 minutes in. This is also a turning point for what the match was. We started off with a straight wrestling match, now we're turning into a fight. Brian starts to use more dirty tactics, rubbing Bad's face into the ropes, biting at his forehead, trying to open up the cut. Bad gets the better of Brian, forcing Brian to retreat to the outside. When Brian gets back into the ring, he offers a handshake to Bad. Bad doesn't accept this time. After a sequence of leapfrog drop downs, once more, both men collide. However, no one gets the better of this exchange. The referee starts the 10 count. Both men are eventually able to get to their feet. However, Brian would hit Bad with a headbutt, and both men would go down again. Michael Buffer gives us a 5-minute warning. Bad suplexes Brian from the inside of the ring to the outside. Bad then follows up with a crossbody to the outside of the ring. As Brian makes his way back into the ring, Bad attempts a top rope dive, but Brian would hit him with a drop kick in midair. Bad would be able to recover from this and hit a sit-out powerbomb on Brian. He follows up with a pin attempt, but only gets a 2. Soon after, Brian would hit a tombstone power driver on Johhny B Bad. We then hear a 1-minute warning from Michael Buffer. Bad hits a facebuster followed by a big left punch, goes for the pin, however Brian's leg is under the bottom rope and the referee stops the count. Bad argues with the referee. Brian rolls to the outside, onto the apron, and hits a springboard clothesline on Bad here. Both men would then trade quick pinfall attempts. However, the match is ended. We've hit the 25-minute time limit. Nick Patrick speaks with Michael Buffer, who then announces that the match will now move into sudden death. As the match restarts, both men trade strikes, which turns into a brawl that spills to the outside of the ring. They move back into the ring. Brian heads to the top rope, goes for a missile dropkick, however Bad blocks it with a dropkick of his own. Bad attempts to sit-out powerbomb. This time Brian reverses it into a Hurricane Runner. Brian follows it up with a Tornado DDT. Brian heads to the top rope, however Bad tosses him from the second rope to the guardrail outside. As Brian is about to head back into the ring, Bad hits the Bad Mood on Brian. Shortly afterwards, Brian would attempt a suicide dive to the outside, but doesn't appear to get it all. Both men return to the ring, after an Irish whip both men are running back and forth, building momentum, until both men attempt a running crossbody and collide. Bad gets the better of this exchange, and pins Brian for the victory. Johhny B Bad will now be moving on to face Sting for the United States Championship in the future. Next we have a promo here where Mean Gene is interviewing Ric Flair about his upcoming match tonight against Arn Anderson. Flair talks heavily about the bond that he has with Arn Anderson and the respect that both men have for each other. After the promo is finished, we head back to Heenan, who then blames Hogan for everything. Something you'll see Heenan go back to later on the night. The next match is Cobra, the future NWO Sting, taking on Sergeant Craig Pittman. Now first off, just Cobra's theme here is it's a Morse code theme, something different. Craig Pittman's music hits, however, he seems to be a no-show. Eventually we have a person dressed up in military gear come out to confront Cobra. Whilst Cobra is distracted, Pittman is then seen rappelling from the ceiling. Pittman military crawls into the ring and attempts to choke Cobra out with his ammo belt. Both men would brawl to the outside, but then quickly get back into the ring. Cobra would head to the top rope and attempt a top rope dive. However, Pittman grabs Cobra in midair and drives Cobra's face into the canvas. Pittman would then lock in the code red, which is an armbar, to win the match. Next we head to Paul Orndorff's locker room. Paul Orndorff is going off. He no longer believes that he's Mr. Wonderful anymore, and he doesn't have what it takes to be that person. Orndorff is soon joined by
Gary Spivey of the Psychic Companions Network? What are you doing here?
Spivey motivates Orndorff and puts him back in the zone. The segment ends with Paul Orndorff reclaiming that he's Mr. Wonderful again. Damn, this was weird.
Thank you, Gary.
See my vision?
Next up, the WCW television title match. The challenger, Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll and Max Muscle taking on the champion, Renegade with Jimmy Hart. Dallas attacks Renegade to start the match. The match goes back and forth with Dallas coming out on many of the exchanges. Dallas makes a mistake by headbutting the Renegade, but Renegade's head seems to be a little too hard for DDP.
I'll tell you something about Diamond Dallas Page. He's not the same Diamond Dallas Page we've seen before. This man has energy. This man is focused. This man's flat out on the floor. Wait a minute.
Dallas attempts to get back in the ring, but he's still dazed and walks into the ring post. Renegade attempts a crossbody. Dallas moves out of the way. Dallas forces the Diamond Doll to hold up a 10. Heenan notes that this is the longest match that the Renegade has been through. Dallas attempts a shoulder attack. Renegade moves and Dallas drives his shoulder into the ring post. Renegade's able to build a comeback here and hits a handspring elbow to Dallas in the corner. However, Dallas would stop the comeback, hitting a jumping DDT. Dallas attempts the diamond cutter. It's reversed. Renegade goes for the roll up. However, Page kicks out at 2. Max Muscle jumps onto the apron and tries to interfere. However, Jimmy Hart distracts him as Renegade Irish whips Dallas into Max Muscle, knocking him off the apron. Jimmy Hart and Max Muscle get into an argument on the outside. As this is going on, the Renegade heads to the top rope and dives out onto Max Muscle. As Renegade is getting back into the ring, Max Muscle grabs his leg. Dallas takes advantage and hits the diamond cutter to win the match and the television title. Dallas steals the title, and the Diamond Doll is not happy. Next match is for the WCW Tag Team titles. The challengers are the Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray with Sister Sherri, and the champions are the Stud Stable, Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater, with their manager, Colonel Robert Parker. It must be known prior to the match here that there is a ongoing storyline here between Sister Sherri and Colonel Robert Parker, who have kind of a thing for each other right now. This match was very hold heavy, with plenty of quick tags. All men would take turns in wearing down the opposite team with holds. Booker T would get stuck in the ring for the large portion of the match, where Slater and Buck would tag in and out and wear Booker down. Booker attempts a comeback, but crashes and burns in the corner. Booker eventually hits a scissor kick out of nowhere, which would allow a hot tag to Stevie Ray. Stevie takes on both men and Booker T soon joins in. As Harlem Heat are closing in for the victory, Colonel Robert Parker and Sherri go into the next ring together and kiss. This was weird. As this is happening though, The Nasty Boys enter the ring and clock Slater with his own boot. Booker T gets the pin here, and we have new tag team champions. Apparently Slater had recently cost the Nasty Boys a match with the American males, so this appears to be payback. As Parker is making his way up the ramp, he's rubbing the lipstick off his face after the encounter with his sister Sherri. Mean Gene has a post-match interview with Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater. Buck confronts Parker on his relationship with Sherri. Parker tells Buck, "I run this outfit here, and you'll get those titles. So go on and get back in the showers." Clearly not too fussed about losing the titles tonight. Parker keeps rubbing the lipstick off his face during this interview. Parker is professing his love for Sherri. And that's the promo. We quickly get a Halloween Havoc advertisement spot here, which will give Mean Gene enough time to run backstage and get ready to interview Arn Anderson. We head backstage as Mean Gene shows a recap of the Arn Anderson and Ric Flair feud. It shows how the issues began with both men. Flair hiding behind Arn, trying to get Arn to fight his battles. The change with Flair seems to be in relation to the arrival of Hulk Hogan to WCW. Things seem to have been breaking down to a point where Arn refuses to help Flair cheat. Arn gives a passionate promo here, which is well worth a watch. So after the promo with Arn Anderson, we're heading into the match here. Arn Anderson taking on Ric Flair. We get a quick breakdown from Bobby Heenan and Tony Schiavone on their views as to why both men are fighting here now. We also get a look into the crowd where we see several wrestlers here to watch the match. As the match begins, Arn is consistently overpowering Flair. However, Flair is not letting up. Frustrated, Flair keeps coming at Arn. Arn then slaps Flair in the face, which knocks Flair down.
Little shoving match. Oh ho! Oh ho!
Arn starts then working on the arm, and Flair does not appreciate this one bit. Flair gets up and confronts Arn for working on his arm, and then Arn slaps Flair in the face once again, Flair dropping to the canvas.
A standard Anderson trademark throughout the year.
Tony, I'm sick to my stomach. I can't watch these two fight. Look at that.
Down goes Flair again.
Arn throws Flair into the corner. Flair goes up and over. As Flair is walking dazed across the apron, Arn tries to follow it up, but Flair drops the top rope and Arn goes flying to the outside. Flair works on Arn on the outside and takes control of the match. They head back into the ring where Flair continues to wear Arn down. Arn gets back into the match with a big back body drop. This would be short-lived, however. Flair would grab the referee and punch Arn below the belt. Classic Ric Flair. The fight goes to the outside once again, and then back into the ring. Flair hits a stalling suplex and both men are down. Arn would be able to recover and attempt a DDT, however Flair would hold the ropes, with Arn slamming into the canvas. Flair goes for the figure four. Arn initially blocks the figure four by grabbing Flair's leg, unable to lock it in. This would be short-lived, however, as Flair would eventually lock in the figure four. As it's locked in, Flair spits at Arn, which lights a fire under him, and he reverses the figure four. Flair would then get up and continue to work on the leg. Flair Irish whips Arn, but he collapses. Arn can no longer put pressure on the knee. Flyin Brian jumps onto the apron. Flair tells him to get lost, or maybe something not so PG. Brian punches Flair. Flair gets up and punches Brian back. As Flair turns his attention back to Arn, Brian kicks Flair in the back of the head. Arn grabs Flair and hits him with the DDT to win the match. We're told by the commentary team that the American males have chased off Flyin Brian. As Bobby Heenan is giving a breakdown of the end of the match, you hear him getting overwhelmed with emotion.
DDT! And Arn Anderson covered. The man he thought he'd never have to fight.
As we go back to the announcers table, we see that Heenan has been wiping away tears. But WCW quickly cuts away to a Dungeon of Doom promo. We get a quick feud video package for the match between the Dungeon of Doom and Team Hogan.
what's gonna happen to the immortal Hulk Hogan.
We then get a promo with Mean Gene, Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, Randy Savage, and Sting. This promo has so much going on that I feel like it's best for you to watch it yourself, or better yet, watch this quick cut.
Well, you know, you can liken it to whatever you want, big dude. And we just drank a couple gallons of Agent Orange, brother. I said what I had to say when I had to say it. We are devastating, yes or no?
And I don't want to talk anymore. Let's just go to the ring right now and tear them apart.
And we are together as together can be.
And we're ready for War Games, baby!
Vince in the middle.
Pull up your socks and get ready.
Now onto the War Games. Michael Buffer gives the official announcement for the match, and Mean Gene explains the rules for the War Games match itself, with the added stipulation that if Hulk Hogan's team wins, Hulk Hogan gets 5 minutes in the ring with the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, keeping in mind that Kevin Sullivan is not an official part of this match.
Ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin!
So here we have it, Team Hogan, featuring Hulk Hogan himself, Lex Luger, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Sting, accompanied by Jimmy Hart taking on the Dungeon of Doom, Kamala, Meng, the Shark, and the Zodiac, with their manager, the Taskmaster. The match starts first with Sting taking on the Shark. Early on, Sting dives from one side of the ring to the other to take the Shark down. Sting would also hit a body slam on the Shark. Sting attempts a second body slam, however the Shark lands on Sting. Shark locks him in a bear hug. Sting tries to escape the bear hug by grabbing the top of the cage. Shark then attempts the ring-to-ring dive that Sting did earlier, however he would get caught up in the ropes, allowing Sting to work on the Shark. Sting locks on the Scorpion Death Drop, but the timer runs out and the Zodiac is next in for the Dungeon of Doom. As the Zodiac tries to make his way towards Sting, Sting grabs the top of the cage and kicks the Zodiac multiple times, knocking him into the corner. Sting then attempts a Scorpion Deathlock on the Zodiac, but the Shark would break it up, and the 2-on-1 beatdown begins. Shark and the Zodiac take control of the match until the next entry, the Macho Man. Macho comes in, hitting anything that's moving. Shark and Zodiac get into a messy exchange with Macho, before Sting can recover. Shark and Zodiac get the better of March and continue their attack on Sting. Next in is Kamala. The Dungeon of Doom dominate the next few minutes, wearing down Macho Man and Sting, who have no answer for the numbers game here. Lex Luger would come in next and even the odds. Luger takes down the Zodiac and then double clotheslines the Shark and Kamala. Team Hogan would make a comeback here, which would be very short-lived, as the Dungeon of Doom would take back control of the match, and soon after be joined by the last entrant of the Dungeon of Doom, Meng. The Dungeon of Doom controls the match, as once again, the number games are against Team Hogan. Finally, Hulk Hogan is the last entrant in the match, and throws powder into the eyes of Meng, Kamala, and the Zodiac. Sting also throws some powder into the Kamala's face. I don't know where he got this. Hogan and Luger would throw each member of the Dungeon of Doom into the cage, starting with Kamala, then the Zodiac, then Meng, and then finally the Shark, who moves the entire cage. Luger taps Hogan on the arm, which Hogan sells for him. It was quite a funny little moment there. And Hogan would win the match with a camel clutch on the Zodiac. Team Hogan would celebrate, as Kevin Sullivan would try and leave the ringside area. Security stops Sullivan and starts escorting him back to the ring. Sting would then take over from security and throw Sullivan back into the ring. Here it is, Hulk Hogan gets 5 minutes now with the Taskmaster. This isn't really a match, but more of a chance for Hogan to beat down Sullivan, without the protection of the Dungeon of Doom. Hogan is continuously throwing Sullivan into the cage. Sullivan tries to escape. He actually gets out of the cage. However, Hogan heads out, stops him, continues the attack, and throws him back into the ring. As Hogan is still working on Sullivan, we then see the Giant making his way to the ring. He throws the referee out of the way. The Giant enters the cage, but Hogan doesn't notice it. He continues his attack on Sullivan. The Giant grabs Hogan around the neck. Hogan tries to fight back, but the Giant isn't fazed by the shots of Hogan. The Giant grabs Hogan on the neck and tries to break Hogan's neck here. Team Hogan runs back for the save. However, the Giant and Sullivan leave without confrontation. And the credits roll. So it seems that even though the Dungeon of Doom did not win the match, Sullivan still had the last laugh here. So that does it for WCW Fall Brawl 1995. As you may have noticed, I didn't rate the matches individually as we went on. However, if this is something you'd like to see in future videos, please let me know in the comments and I will surely include individual match rankings. As for the standouts of Fall Brawl, the 35-minute match between Johhny B and Flyin Brian is definitely worth your time, as well as the Ric Flair versus Arn Anderson match. With that said, I'm going to give Fall Brawl 1995 a C- rating. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on episode 2 of the Nitro vs Raw series right here on Seriously Wrestling.